Hey there, Joel here. Today we'll be discussing the topic of men's clothing.
When you shop for clothing, most of the time you don't think twice about where it comes from. You usually just buy it because it looks nice. Though price and quality may often be considered before buying clothing, many people fail to go the extra mile and find out if the clothes that they're about to purchase are made ethically. Quick question: would you still purchase clothing from a company knowing that children are forced to make it in poor working conditions? Your answer was probably yes, because the cheaper the price, the more engaged you are to buying it. A low price equals a higher chance that the company is involved in child labor. Many companies are quick to take advantage of that, capitalizing on your need to get the biggest bang for your buck. A company such as Nike, a huge apparel and equipment corporation, has been known for allowing children to work in their major factories across the world in very poor working conditions. One of their factories in Indonesia has recently been reported to be very abusive. Workers have said that they've been beaten with shoes, constantly slapped in the face, and have been called dogs and pigs. A young female worker there was interviewed had said, "We're powerless. Our only choice is to stay and suffer or speak out and get fired." And though Nike has made a conscious effort to make reforms around the ethical treatment of its workers, little to no progress has been made. When you buy Nike clothing, you're saying it's okay for a multi-billion-dollar company to subject their workers to poor working conditions. To this day, Nike is still in clear violation of ethical labor laws. In Vietnamese and Chinese factories, chemicals causing liver, kidney, and brain damage are at a 177 times the legal limit. The trouble doesn't also stop there. There are several Nike-owned companies such as Converse, Bauer, that are also subjected to similar standards. Though it may not be intentional, each time you buy from Nike, you are unknowingly supporting unethical working conditions.
Another company that is notoriously known for its unethical treatment of offshore workers is Gap. Now, Gap treats offshore workers unethically, but not in the traditional way like Nike or other major brand name companies do. Okay, so here's kind of how that works. Gap headquarters puts in an order for, let's say, 100 t-shirts and pays a Gap authorized company $100 to make them. What that Gap authorized factory then does is sell the order to a sweatshop that completes the order for $50. The sweatshop then ships the order back to Gap authorized factories, who then ship it back to headquarters to be purchased by consumers. This way, sweatshops get business, Gap authorized factories get more money, Gap's reputation remains intact, and savings are then passed on to the consumers. The only problem is, subcontracted sweatshops are horrible. Workers are subjected to forced abortion, child labor, and of course, unsafe working conditions. It wasn't until a subcontracted garment factory collapsed in Bangladesh, killing 500 people, did Gap's clever scheme become known to the public. In further investigations, Gap subcontract companies had adult and child employees in Jordan who were found to have worked up to 109 hours per week and who have gone 6 months without being paid. This led to Gap receiving a Public Eye Award in the year 2014, an award given to the company deemed worst of the year. Now Gap executives, 2 years later, have still done nothing to address the issue of subcontracted offshore factories. The unethical treatment of overseas clothing factory workers is fueled by companies like Nike and Gap's complete disregard for proper supply chain management, which is in turn fueled by consumers like you. This isn't to say all brands that operate overseas treat their workers unethically. Visible Clothing is an example of a company that operates overseas doing just that. Visible Clothing is the new up-and-coming label where everything that goes behind making clothes is made visible. Visibility of cost, people, and impact, so you know that everyone is being treated fairly. Another company that has followed in the footsteps of Visible Clothing is Everlane, a San Francisco-based company that practices radical transparency. So even if there are companies like Nike and Gap taking advantage of outsourced laborers, with companies like Visible Clothing and Everlane, you can make an informed decision to stop supporting unethical treatment of workers and take a stand against large unethical men's clothing companies.
Created using Powtoon.